Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm here today with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Good. Well, you can see I'm really in the swing of things here. Got
Oh
my
yeah, well,
My Hawaiian shirt on.
yeah, we should have come up with just Hawaiian-related topics
Yeah, we
today.
should have.
That,
Yeah, well, we could
but
talk about
unfortunately, we
that,
don't.
but
We
well,
could
there
talk
is
about
one
Hawaii, but
we could, but we won't.
yeah, but
Keep
we
going.
won't. All right, let's see what we're going to have today. So today we're going to talk about Saku's new metal-free battery. We're going to talk a little about Sandy Munro's opinion on Elon Musk. We're going to talk about a company called DJI that makes drones and some of
Mm-hmm.
their new area they're going into. NASCAR entering the EV space.
Yeah,
Turkey
that's a mind
imposing
blower.
40% tariffs on EVs, which goes right into BYD going to open a plant in Turkey.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Also, want to talk about a company I've not heard of before called KGM that's using cattle batteries with a 15-year, 1 million mile warranty. So I think this is some pretty interesting
Hmm.
stuff that we've got today. So let's start out today. We'll discuss the Sandy Munro and the Elon Musk deal. Now, this is kind of interesting because Sandy Munro says Elon Musk is the greatest person on the planet right now. Now, you can love Elon or hate Elon, but the truth is he keeps being the world's richest person because people are voting with their wallets.
Well,
It's
if you
not like
don't,
he's
yeah,
hoarding money or anything like that. The
yeah,
people have just
if you don't,
determined that he's worth that.
yeah, if you don't count Vladimir Putin, he's
Well,
supposedly even richer, but who knows
there
where that
are,
money?
if you
Who knows
count
where that money's
families,
hidden?
if you count families, there's supposedly 4 people or families that are technically probably worth more than Musk, but people don't really discuss them.
Yeah, yeah,
And I can tell you that it's hard because like if you take the Rothschilds, there's a whole lot of them.
yeah.
Okay, so it's not just one person. You've got the Sauds, which is the Saudi royal family.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Lee family out of Hong Kong, and and then probably Putin. But the Putin thing is kind of who nobody really knows.
Nobody knows. Yeah,
Nobody
exactly.
really knows. So, anyways, and he's not throwing his money around. He does other
No,
things.
he's just throwing bodies around, but yeah.
Yeah, he's wasting his countrymen. But anyways, so getting back to even though Tesla's had recent layoffs, Monroe's very bullish on Tesla. Let's see this article. No, this was the Jalopnik article, and what we've got here, and he feels he's unbiased, and because he dismantles electric cars and puts them back together. And unlike the lamestream media, Sandy will tell it to you straight because he has no real incentive. He isn't attempting to shore up the tanking Tesla stock, but he freely admits to owning. And anyways, let's see what he's got to say. For Sandy, this is just a game recognizing game. Elon is a smart businessman and knows what he's doing. If your chargers are the best on the planet, and that's the truth, and they're running at 99.9% uptime, why do you need an R&D and a new product development team for? They're as good as you're ever going to get. I don't know about that, but because you and I both know about the 800-volt chargers, at some time soon they're going to, Tesla's going to have to be upgrading to those, right?
Yep.
So they're going to be putting those in their cars and upgrading. But I will say this, what's interesting about Musk is he's not really that concerned about money, and yet he has no shortage of it, at least not in, the stock he owns.
What did I see? He's losing $5 billion a month since the first of the year.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy in his personal net worth.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care.
And then he showed up at the guy at Virgin Atlantic. Oh, come on. Richard Branson. He shows up at Richard Branson's house barefoot. Branson discovers him in his kitchen.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So he's a bit unusual at times. Yes. can't, his ability to inspire his, and I don't know how, what you define as inspire, but certainly to guide and inspire his team to, keep doing things better and better is really sometimes without parallel. And it's no secret that Sandy admires the guy. He's I think from the first Model S that he took apart. He's had a great deal of admiration for the company, and of course the company is led by Musk, and so by extension, Musk doesn't invent those circuit boards and those things that go. It's all his team that does that. But he has the ability to bring the right people together at the right time and accomplish the goals, and they get it done, and they get it done ahead of everybody else.
He's sure done a lot more though than what people think. I mean, he is a bright guy, and you look at how hands-on he's been with the rocket program, and the fact that he spent so much time on the factory floor in the Tesla facilities. And what Monroe says, Elon Musk is the greatest person on the planet right now. Nobody else has made a rocket ship that will go to Mars. Nobody out there has made electrification a reality. You look at that magnificent piece back there referring to a Cybertruck. Even if you don't like to look at it, look inside. Who else is going to be able to push 48 volts, which we should have done in the 1960s? Who else is going to give you an Ethernet ring that eliminates a giant amount of, I don't know what CAN bus is.
Oh, that's the circuit. That's the electronic network that is part of all modern day cars. And of course, it's big, it's heavy, lots of cables, and discrete parts scattered all over the car. And what Musk and his team there at Tesla have done is gotten rid of that part, gone to Ethernet, and really consolidated much all of that electronics into one or two basic circuit boards. So I mean, Sandy has been not bashful about getting out there and singing the praises of what those guys have done, and it's justified. It's certainly justified. I was going to make the point that the likely reason why VW and Rivian did their $1 billion deal, which can expand eventually to $5 billion, is because Volkswagen, for all their might and prestige and all the companies they own and buy and stuff they manufacture, had to get somebody who knew more about automotive software. And that was the guiding principle here behind the Rivian deal. Get that team on. Obviously they couldn't go buy Tesla, and they couldn't buy that team off. So they found a team they could buy that's doing, comparable work.
All right. So let's move on and let's talk about DJI. So DJI unveils AmFlow PL, an e-bike
we forgot one thing in that. Coming back to Monroe is the battery that he discovered. Recently toured the factory Saku, and if people will look that up, go to our website, just type in Monroe, and in the search engine it'll be, I think, the first story that comes up. But this battery is unlike anything you've ever seen. I mean, it does not look like, it is not like all the conventional batteries that we're used to up to this point. And the kicker is it's got double the amount of energy density of anything else out there. It will not catch fire, won't go into thermal runaway. The cost, I think they're estimating the cost will be something like 40% less of, competing type of battery, even though there isn't one out there, because nobody makes a battery that I think it's, what was it, 700 and some, or 525 kilowatt hours per, watt hours per kilogram. It's just phenomenal. And it looks like nothing you've ever seen before. It's, they have come up with an incredible process to manufacture that battery and do it. And not just that, the interesting thing is that they can take the technology of other companies like Tesla, for example, and apply their patented engineered technology into even improving the production capacity and abilities of those batteries. So you can see what, it's like Sandy's excited about, and I haven't seen him as excited about anything other than Tesla than he has this company, Saku. He's really on fire for them.
Well, doing a little research on the Saku metal-free battery cell, the metal-free design eliminates traditional metals like copper and aluminum, using polymers instead, reducing weight and cost.
Yep.
And it uses printing technology, a printing process for all layers, rather than coating on metal foils, enabling efficient manufacturing and early quality testing. And then, of course, you mentioned the safety features. It reduces risks of violent discharges and enhancing overall safety during use. And in terms of performance, it has comparable power efficiency to traditional cells, but with lower weight and cost. So its energy density is 354 watt hours per kilogram, compared to 272 on a 4680 type cell. And it also allows for stackable bipolar configurations without the need for tabs, simplifying assembly and improving volumetric and gravimetric efficiency. What, did I disappear?
No. I was just showing how they, most of these batteries, the pouch type, they'll, have some of a layered effect, but you have to have all these tabs. What these guys have done is they've eliminated the need for tabs. They just stack the layers of those polymers, which are coated with special, graphite and whatever else they're using, and they're just stacking them up. And you can literally create a battery that is, a brick. And again, I'm not the expert here. I only watched the video, but it looks like this could be a real game. We always talk about game changers, right? This one could seriously be a game changer.
No, I mean, we see exciting new ideas in battery tech all the time. Okay, so like I always saying, EVs are much like computers were in the late 90s, early 2000s, where the capabilities are doubling, or the price is cutting in half every 2 years. And it's significant because it's driving the cost of an EV down. What's that?
The more effect.
The more effect. Okay. But anyways, I mean, EVs are eventually going to make automobiles in general far more affordable than they are today, which isn't something you really hear people talking about. All you hear about is EVs are too expensive. They're only for the rich. But in another 10 years, it's going to be even without government incentives, it's going to be too expensive to own a gas car. I mean, it's simply that's going to be the way it is. Now, people have been paying what they're paying for a gas car. It's not like they're going to go up in price. It's just that EVs for the comparable gear are going to be considerably less expensive. And we see it coming.
Yeah. Case in point, BYD just announced an improved version of their Dolphin, which has more range, and still the $14,000 pound. This was in pounds. 14,000 pound price, which is somewhere at around a little below $20,000, something like that. More range, improvements in the car, and less than $20,000.
So the UK is getting inexpensive EVs already. Yeah. So that makes things quite interesting. Let's move on though to the DJI story.
Yeah.
So DJI, who makes drones, is getting into the e-bike business. So Bill, you want to tell us about this, because e-bikes are kind of your thing.
So DJI is probably, maybe most people are aware, they are the guys that have been the leaders in the what do I call it here? The drone market, the hobbyist drone, and also they've got commercial versions of these drones. And of course, these are the things that have the batteries and the motors, and they fly and go all kinds of different directions. And they've been a leader in that and continue to be a leader in that for the last 10 years. Then they got into creating, this is really interesting, they got into creating a 360-degree camera. So if you're out hiking, you just hold this thing that's on a stick, and it sees 360 degrees but it doesn't see itself. It's the funniest thing. So you see people going along and they're shooting YouTube videos about their hikes in the desert, and you can see their hand is out, but there's nothing in their hand, and that's where the camera is, unless they get into shadow, and then you see the shadow of the camera that they're holding in their hand. So they've been done that, and they've started building a reputation there. And for who knows what reason, wouldn't it be interesting to be in the boardroom or where the decision was made? Hey, we're sort of cornered the drone market. We're really getting a good handle on the market for these, selfie 360-degree cameras. Let's go into electric bikes. So they have created a motor called the Avonix, I think, something like that, that has double the torque is measured in newtons. I think that's the correct terminology, that of any other bike out there. They just clobber the competition, which basically translates into, if you want to have a mountain bike that can actually climb a mountain, the more torque you have, the more newtons you have, the easier it is going to be to climb that path, that hill. So this is just being rolled out now. And again, here's a company that hasn't done bikes before, and now they're into offering serious competition to the bike makers with their own motor. So, yeah, that's exciting.
Nice. One of my students just came back from Denmark and was explaining to me all the problems she had with e-bikes over there. And
it's being stolen?
No, just not working right. She kept getting defective.
These were bike share.
Yeah, but the fact that everybody they saw in Denmark looked very athletic, male, female, whatever, because everybody was either walking, running, or biking to work, or everywhere they were going. You just didn't see a lot of cars. Everybody was on bikes.
Yep.
And it's really
that was now, unlike the Netherlands, they basically said no. They've really made it difficult for people to operate cars bikes in a city environment, and to encourage and build bike infrastructure and things like that. Denmark followed suit, although not to, I think, the same extent in laws and things of that nature. But yeah, those two countries are just a model for the rest of the world. I'd love to see over here, but we're pretty well hidebound to our car culture. So yeah.
Well, I don't ride a bike much outside. I do spin classes though. I get a lot of miles in. I probably get about 50 miles in a week on a bike, on a spin bike. But that's a whole different ballgame. Anyways, let's go on and let's talk a little bit about what's going on with NASCAR. So NASCAR has got a new EV prototype, and I've seen a few places posting pictures of this today. Oddly, this is from PC Magazine.
Yeah.
It's not even going to show up on the screen.
It's not a lot of information released, and so all the other articles are kind of quoting, I think it was the AP on this thing. But basically what we've got here is we have a program to begin to explore the potential of either a separate race series or part of the NASCAR program to eventually take and reduce their carbon footprint to zero by, I think it's 2035. And so they're committing, sacrilege in the eyes of so many NASCAR followers of introducing an electric car. Now, this is a project has the cooperation of Ford, GM, and Toyota, as well as ABB, which is a Swedish-Swiss company that specializes in electronic grid management, things like that. So they got together and created this car. It wasn't done by, I don't know exactly what the actual participation of Ford, GM, and Toyota was. It doesn't look like one of their cars. But it was put together by the ABB team that also has done several other types of car, a low emission or zero emission cars for Le Mans, 24 hours Le Mans, and those types of programs in Europe. So it mentions that this thing's going to have a motor in it with driving. There's three motors driving all four wheels, producing 1,000 kilowatts, which is equivalent to about a little over 1,300 horsepower. And I think, what is it, a 78 or an 85 kilowatt?
Yeah, I have it highlighted, a 78 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah, right. So now, of course, we've had for a good decade now, we've had the Formula E racing, and the way they got around the power limitations of racing. First of all, the races were only an hour long, and they had two cars and a single driver. So what they would do is the first half of the race, half an hour, they would use one car, and then they would pull into the pit stop, and they would switch cars. The driver would jump out, jump in the other car, and away you would go. And that's how they handled the battery energy issue, right?
That's the Pony Express strategy.
It's the Pony Express strategy. So it doesn't, this obviously at NASCAR, this project is not far along for them to say, well, we're going to allow teams to drive two cars, or we're going to limit it to an hour,
Why isn't anybody proposing this for charging stations? That you just go and you're on the highway, you just go swap out your car for another car and just charge it up, or swap the batteries.
Or you have the track electrified. In fact, right. what's interesting is the what's his name? The racer, the famous NASCAR racer, said that he's excited about it because it's so much like when he was a kid and he had his slot cars, right?
Uh-huh. Right.
So you could imagine maybe they could take and electrify underneath the things, and the competition would be, if you can dominate and hold onto that track position long enough, then you get your car charged while the others are fighting to get onto that same track, right?
Yeah.
So that could make for a really interesting.
I mean, you had that both for the slot race cars and for the trains,
right?
They all ran that way. Oh,
yeah.
So
it'll be. Oh God, what's his name? But people are gonna, say, God, more you don't know a damn thing about racing and NASCAR, do you? And you're absolutely right. Petty, is that the guy? I think that anyway, Petty. He said I think he said he kind of likes the idea because it takes him back, to his youth when he was running slot cars and RC cars and things like that. So, right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this develops.
All right. Well, a couple other things. So, the EU has been talking about clamping down on tariffs on the Chinese auto manufacturers. The United States just put 100% tariff on Chinese auto manufacturers, even though nobody had come to the U.S. yet. So, anyways, the EU has been looking at anywhere from something like 16% to 40%. Well, Turkey has imposed a 40% tariff on vehicle imports in general from China. And so BYD has agreed to invest $1 billion in a Turkish facility to build cars in Turkey. Now, BYD makes all electric and plug-in hybrids. They don't make anything else. So they are the world leader in plug-in hybrids. And last year they were the world leader in EVs. Although currently this year they're trailing Tesla just slightly. Okay, but between the two, they outsell Tesla by a long shot.
Now, would you like a little backstory?
Sure.
Okay, so back when there was a guy that was trying to make the world a better place, and what he did is he was setting up electric car program where it was a subscription program. Okay, you would subscribe to, you get a car, and then they set up battery swapping stations, and the most furthest along was one in Israel. They had some that they're beginning to introduce in into Europe. The company eventually went bankrupt. But do you know where those electric cars were being built? They were French. They were Renault. I think they were Renaults. But do you know where they were being built?
Mm-mm.
Not in France. They were being built in Turkey. And so Turkey has a history going back at least 2 decades. And of course, they've been working on their own domestic EV program, and they've gotten the Prime Minister Erdogan to look at it, and, touch it and ride it, I guess. But that early program to build electric cars for the Better Place, I think it was called Better Place, program was originated in Turkey. So they've got a background in that.
Turkey's kind of an interesting because they're a big manufacturing country. So they manufacture a lot of like fixtures for homes. They make flooring, countertops. There's a lot of things that are manufactured in Turkey. They make medical equipment, and a lot of it is because they're essentially a European nation that has low labor costs.
Yeah, sort of straddles that divide between Europe and
Asia.
The Middle East and Asia.
Yeah. What do they call it? Asia. For a long time, it was called Asia Minor.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so Turkey is probably a pretty good choice for anything related to manufacturing, that side of things. Now, BYD has also agreed to put in a facility in Hungary. I don't have any details on that, but at this Turkish facility, they're planning on building 150,000 vehicles per year and employing 5,000 people, with production starting at the end of 26. So they're looking at a 2-year window to get everything in there. But that's how they're going to combat the European.
That company's amazing. And of course, then they're also building a comparable facility in Mexico.
Yeah.
So you can see that then providing cars to Central America and the Caribbean, and in all likelihood, because they're already doing their buses, they're already importing their buses, and many of the electric transit buses that are operated in South America now are BYD buses. So you could see them, selling there, and of course that opens the door to eventually, moving into, because Mexico is part of it's not the North. What do they call it? There's a Canada, Mexico, USA trade agreement thing. So I could see that at some point, with sufficient pressure, political pressure, that they could use that Mexico plan as a doorway, a gateway, a portal into the United States for their cars. Their buses are already here, but for their cars.
So I've got this story that I find really interesting that is about a company called KGM. Now, KGM is a Chinese manufacturer. They're a 70-year-old Chinese company that started out in buses, and then in 91 had a partnership with Mercedes, and they are releasing this vehicle here in the United Kingdom. It's called the KGM EVX. And I didn't get too much into article about this. I wasn't so much interested in the vehicle itself as much as the battery. So they're in a partnership with CATL, or CATL, and the battery that's in it is a 1 million mile or 1.5 million kilometer, 15-year battery warranty. Okay, so people can forget about all this. Oh, the battery's only good for 5 years, whatever. Well, people are warranting them for 15 years and 1 million miles. Okay, so people can just shut up about batteries, because I hear this all the time. Oh, a battery is not going to last you 5 years, because they're comparing. People always want to compare to a cell phone battery. They think a cell phone battery is where, they're so used to the planned obsolescence of you lease a phone for 2 years, or you buy a phone over 2 years, and miraculously at the end of the 2 years, the phone just basically isn't working as good as it used to, and it's time to get a new phone. And it turned out that Apple was intentionally doing it, but the Androids were having problems too. And Apple absolutely got caught, but that's not the situation with cars. And it keeps coming up and keeps coming up, and the technology keeps getting better and better. The price of the batteries keeps going down. But this right here,
That's a game that, well, we
I
keep
mean,
talking game changer. That's a potential game changer. What
yeah,
if you recall what got Hyundai and Kia, that family of cars, into the U.S. market? What did they offer? Everybody else was offering what, 5 years or 6 year, 3 year
3 years. Most of the US
3 year
are 3 year,
warranties
three
on
year,
the cars,
36,000.
and Hyundai said no, we're going to warranty ours for 10 years.
Hmm.
So that strategy of saying, look, we have such confidence in our product that, look, we're going to back it up, for 10 years. And who's going to own a Hyundai Kia for 10 years? So
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. It's a nice looking vehicle. Doesn't tell much here about what kind of price this is or anything like that. I just think that's pretty amazing that it's coming into that price point. Cattle had already a couple months ago had announced that they had a battery pack, but initially it was being issued to bus companies and for big trucks. So this is the first um, personal vehicle that's going to be offered with this, and that's just a huge deal. If you could imagine, if you live in the UK, what a big deal that is, to be able to get a battery that you're
yeah,
never going to replace
yeah,
on your, at least
yeah,
not replace on your own dime. So
yeah.
anyways,
It'd be interesting to see how that works out. Of course, we won't know for 10 years from now how
no,
that whole thing was worked out financially for the company investors, and for the I
right.
assume there's probably some Chinese government engagement with it, as well as for the consumer, and the dealers. So be
But
interesting to watch. That's a million miles. That's just
I see
I thought we were really cutting plowing new ground when they were doing 6 year warranties or 8 year warranties, or in Tesla, in California, 10 year warranty on the batteries. I thought,
I
wow.
suspect they're playing some games with insurance. So in the real estate space, I've seen deals where a company will guarantee with an insurance policy that an investment will pay a fixed yield. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But the deal is it's a minimum of 5 years. Well, generally, if you have any negative cycle in 5 years as far as the real estate, it'll reverse itself at some point in those 5 years. Okay, and so it'll start digging itself out. And so the insurance company is better able to weather the storm than perhaps that real estate developer.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I think you have some of the same things here. But even in that situation, the insurance company is then paying money to a reinsurance company
Yeah.
that is backing them up in case they were wrong.
Right.
And so all of your big insurance companies are also backed by a reinsurance company. So they have kind of it's not a shell game, but the idea is that if you continue past a certain number of market cycles, you get through it. And you look at like in current inflation. Inflation for the last 3 years has been like 10%. Okay. Well, so over time, the value of everything is increasing, right? So at some point, especially whether it be real estate, batteries, whatever, those inflationary costs help carry the insurance product.
Yeah. So it sounds like, what we have the company, all right,
Mhm.
KGM, that has, I would assume, primary responsibility. They had to do some kind of deal with cattle, right?
Cattle is the one offering the warranty.
Okay, so it's cattle offering the warranty.
Cattle offers the warranty.
So then cattle is probably, what do you say, going to some kind of reinsurer to.
Well, cattle is going to have an insurance company that's going to back up their
Yeah.
battery warranty. Okay. And then on top of that, whoever that insurance company is going to have another layer of reinsurance.
Right.
Plus you have KGM as well.
Right.
Okay. So in essence, you basically have 4 companies or more in that chain. It really can get fairly sophisticated.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that I've seen very sophisticated insurance products in the investment space that, the average person doesn't really realize this is how a lot of things go. And then also, though, you could have a company like cattle that simply self-insures because they've got billions and billions of dollars. I mean, they're a big company that's well funded. And so who knows? Bill, did you have any other topics you wanted to discuss today?
No, that'll lure for today. I mean, there's always new stuff. What have I posted? I think something like 70 news stories as of this morning, and I've got more to go back upstairs and add. So we're always feeding the beast because it's a hungry monster. So if you want to keep track on what's going on, you get on our RSS stream and find out what the latest stuff's going on. And again, as I always stress, man, we're only scratching the surface of this iceberg. There's so much stuff out there. This is evolving and growing at such a rapid pace. I don't think most people have a sense of how fast things are changing in the EV space. So
and the car manufacturers, honestly, from a lot of them, we're seeing their plans for a car they're releasing in 26, and it's like, man, the batteries and everything are going to be different by 26.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be much to really put in a significantly bigger battery, a lot more power in the car, stuff like that.
Let's see what happens with the Saku battery. I mean, that looks like very, very promising technology. And of course, then you've got cattle with what were they saying? They're looking to have a battery that'll fly an airplane for 1,200 miles or something like that. So things are happening. Absolutely.
Oh, they sure are. Anyways, folks, I'm going to go ahead. Thanks for watching today, and we're going to go ahead in the stream. We'll be back tomorrow with Mike Herzog. Y'all have a great